Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World Pulse podcast. I'm your host, Sheena Katz, and I'm really glad that you're here today. World Pulse is a social impact network supporting grassroots women leaders who are advancing gender equity worldwide. And this podcast is here to explore how change actually happens in the world, not only through policies or institutions, but through connection, through listening, and through the bridges that we build between people, communities, and possibility. At World Pulse, we often talk about creating a digital bridge to change, a bridge that connects women across borders, cultures, and lived experiences, a bridge that turns stories into shared understanding and understanding into collective action. Because meaningful change does not happen in isolation. It happens when women are able to find one another across geography, sector, and circumstance and move forward together. In this podcast series, we're especially interested in how women navigate complexity, how they build trust, how they make decisions in moments of uncertainty, and how connection, particularly in a digital world, becomes a catalyst for real, lasting change. Each episode is an invitation, not just to listen, but to cross a bridge, to reflect, to engage, and to see yourself as part of a global community working towards a more just and equitable future. Today's guest is Guayente Sanmartin, Senior Vice President and Division President of Commercial Systems and Display Solutions at HP. Guayente leads one of HP's global commercial businesses and is responsible for the strategy and execution of its commercial PC and display portfolio. Over the course of her career, she has held leadership roles across Europe, Asia Pacific, and the US, managing complex global businesses and multi-billion-dollar divisions. Beyond business leadership, Guayente is deeply passionate about innovation, people development, and advancing women in engineering and technology. She has helped establish internal women's networks and regularly speaks at universities and industry forums to inspire the next generation of leaders. Guayente, it's such a pleasure to have you on here today. Welcome to the World Pulse podcast.
The opposite. Thank you, Sheena, for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here today with you.
We are thrilled to have you. Let's get started. So let's start by looking back at the arc of your career. So you began your career at HP as a research and development engineer and have now grown into senior vice president and division president, leading global multi-billion-dollar businesses. When you reflect on that trajectory, what were the pivotal moments that shaped your leadership philosophy?
I would tell you that there are several things that have been very important during my career. The first one was I was into product marketing. After I was an engineer first, then I did an MBA, and I was in product marketing. And there was an R&D director that asked me to move back to R&D. And I applied. It was a promotion for me. And it was, oh my goodness, a promotion, first-time manager. I went through the interview. I evaluated the job that I was doing and the job that that they were asking me to move. And I thought, and at the end I say no. And it was a promotion. Like the lesson that I learned there, that the director of R&D told me was, you have been smart. Just always pick the job that makes you smile the most. So that was a pivot moment where I realized that it's so important that we enjoy what we are doing. And if you cannot be successful if you are not happy on what you're doing. So you always need to find, like this happiness, of the job that you're doing. Second, very important moment in my career is when I was in HP, very successful. I have been doing engineering, product marketing. I was already a director, like in HP. And they asked me, so why don't you move from the global business unit in Barcelona? Why don't you move to Singapore to manage sales for the business that I was developing or creating the strategy and the products? I thought a lot, and at the end I moved. That move, for me was a very important part of my life and my career. I come from a very like a deep-rooted family that has a house for the last 500 years, which I was the first one, not even born in the house, but my brothers were, and I'm the youngest. So imagine how rooted. And I was traveling, to another country with my family. My daughter, my husband is like a. So, but I realized that while it is very sad to leave your roots, like I felt I was a tree and my roots were going to be broken after that leaving Barcelona, I realized that yes, we are trees that like you can just plant in many places. And with these two things, it just have shaped me, like a little bit my life and my career.
What a great analogy. You can plant trees anywhere. And I know that you've also built a career across, multiple regions and cultural contexts, like you mentioned. So you've held leadership roles across Asia Pacific, as you mentioned, Europe, and now the US. How has working across cultures shaped the way that you lead global teams?
So let me tell you one thing, like I always define myself with 5 hashtags. One is I family first. So for me, I have an extraordinary husband, daughter, like the family. Wherever I go, I need to create a family. Second, I'm an innovator. So like wherever I start a new job, I see no matter the function, no matter the role, no matter if it's supporting or not, I always believe that there is capability for innovation. Third, I'm a business achiever. I liked, to make sure that the business that I'm in are better. I'm a people first manager or leader. Is not like one thing that I was at the beginning of my career. I was very demanding, controlling. Then I realized the power of the people and I became a true people first. There is no business that can be successful without the people. And the fifth one is that I'm a women believer. So I dedicate my spare time, to coach, to talk with as many women as possible. Why do I say that is the fact that I have been living in many places. So I started my career in Barcelona as an intern. Then I moved to Paris. Then I moved to Singapore. Then I moved to the US. Then I moved back to Barcelona and now back to the US. Has shown me one thing that I truly believe, that like diversity and inclusion make the business successful, make the team successful. And I started to talk about what is called the diversity of soul, which is not only gender, is gender, education, age, country, the religion, all of that is what like creates different souls that make the businesses more successful. So that is one of my key values.
That makes sense. And I'm sure that translates into any country or continent that you're in. That's incredible.
Exactly. And it's not like, it's just like you embrace like what I call is the totality of the diversity. It's like maybe you and me are both women, but like we have very different way of thinking. That's diversity. Like because we come from different origins, education, schools, language, all of these counts, and that diversity is what can transform the business by bringing people along.
Absolutely. And managing businesses at that scale also requires balancing strategy, performance, and people, I'm sure. So, in your experience, what are the most important leadership qualities required to manage complex global P&Ls while also building strong, engaged teams?
Let me tell you, I think it's not only like the qualities of leaders, because I don't know if there are talking about what I was saying before, there are many different types of leaders that can be very successful having different values. What I think for me is very important is that every one of us, like we need to, as leaders of a business, we need to have the clarity on the purpose. Why do we exist? You can tell me that I'm in HP just managing the PC, like this hardware. No, you don't like what I'm doing. I'm helping transform the way people work. That's my purpose. That's why we exist in HP. So that's first is clarify like the purpose. I want to everyone to be their best and feel fulfilled at work. Well, for that, I need to create the tools, not that hardware, software. But that's clarity on the purpose. Second is clarity on the strategies. Like how are we going to get there? Like short, mid, long-term technology. Third thing is bringing people along and is creating the movement in the organization that believe on the purpose and help you and the leadership team build the best strategies and execute them. So I think that is for that, what do you need? Like capacity to create a purpose, capacity to bring people along, empathy, listening, like inclusion, are going to be characteristics. And then I think as leaders, it's going to be very important that we can select what we do and what we don't. So capacity to make decisions fast and on time are going to be very important characteristics.
And you do work in such fast-paced environment. And I know that based on some of the talks that you've given, one of the themes that consistently appears in your work is your focus, obviously, on innovation and people development, right? So how do you balance performance, transformation, and human-centered leadership in such a high-growth technology environment?
So I link it a little bit, Sheena, with what I was saying before. No, think about it. It is you need to have a clear purpose. And the purpose usually is more long term. The purpose is like what you want to achieve. And when you think, how am I going to achieve? You need to, for sure, continue, today, you need to continue doing things. And at the same time, you realize in your strategy, you need to transform some of them. You select the ones that you want to continue, the ones that you will need to transform, and then you bring people along. Who do you think a business is like what is on an Excel? If I tell you I have been growing 20% in my last business, gaining 3 points of revenue share, expanding gross margin, well, is this the business? No, this is the outcome. The outcome of whom? Of the people that have been working on it. So that again, that's I don't know if it's a balance. It is truly how you operate, this, all this machinery together, all the people together with the processes. That's what really we have to do.
That makes sense. And now I want to take a step back and shift to your experience as a woman in engineering and technology. So in some recent reflections, I know that you shared that when you graduated with your engineering degree, you were one of just 7 women in your class. What did that experience teach you about resilience and belonging?
So let me tell you another fun fact. I'm the youngest of 5, and I'm the only woman at home. I have 4 brothers. So I was already raised in a minority, let's call it, and also when I got to the university, the fun fact, as you can see for my name, is also very unusual in Spain. So and usually the names that finish with an E are boys. So when I got into the class, all the women names were Mark, with a marker, but mine was not because they didn't know I was a woman. So not even in the women I was considered women. Anyway, so I think, honestly, since I was born with this at home, I never thought I was different. My brothers, the eldest is an architect, second civil engineer, computer science, and an architect. So, of course, when I decided what do I want to study, math at home were one thing that we were all very good. And I just of course I'm going to be doing engineering. I couldn't even think, why not? I mean, I have seen my brothers, myself. So I was very, very well raised by my mother. There was no difference in the capabilities that I had. Nothing capabilities to do things at home or on the school. We were all exactly the same. So that but that teach me but then it's true that when you get there and you see that you are the only one, even in here, we're very lucky to work in a company like HP, but still, there are minorities in many of the management forums that I attend, internal or external. And one thing that, I have learned that you need to be resilient, but resilient, and it has taken me a while, honestly, resilient to what others think about you, because you are either different or you talk differently. Because for me, remember, Spaniard, women, and leaders. So you add, like into even more complexity. I wish I had your accent when you talk, but I have other, so but I think like you don't need, you need to continue being yourself, like you have to learn to adapt, like to the environment, adapt without losing and never touching your values, keeping your authenticity. And I think like we need to, as women, we need to be very much more resilient to value what we do. So at the end of the day, we still depend a lot, and personally myself too, in what other things about me. And you, Sheena, you're not value because today I can tell you you are a good or bad professional. You value because you know it. So repeat it yourself every single day. Be more resilient to your value. Value yourself more. At night, you say how strong you are. And if you fail, you say, I still love you. So that is, I think, one thing that I have been learning over the years, but I encourage every woman at any stage, be vulnerable and talk with others so that they can tell you how much you value, but like yourself, repeat it yourselves every day. So that's, I think, one thing that is very important, to be resilient to your value, to your career, to your dreams, that's very important. And you mentioned, and also another very important thing for me personally, belonging is a very important thing. As I told you before, like my 5 hashtags, if I define myself as a professional and as a person, family, family, belonging into a family is very important. And wherever I go, belonging into a group of women, like belonging into a team, belonging into my organization, belonging into the side of HP now that I'm in Palo Alto. This part for me gives me a lot of energy to belong to something, to that we drive together. And just I can tell you another fun fact is, just like I think it was 18 months ago, I have been living in Palo Alto now for quite some time, but there was one of my women friends that has started one group that is executive Spanish women living in the Bay Area. You cannot imagine how good this team is, because are all women like me that moved from Spain. They are all executive. So belonging to this team where we share this common purpose, to become like a reference of women, like from Spain, and that now are having a career abroad, is very important. So very long answer, Sheena.
I love that you all found each other there, of all places, too.
It's amazing. And I have learned so much from all of them, so much.
And digging in a little bit deeper there and looking at your career, I imagine that mentorship and community has often played an important role in that journey. So throughout your career, were there any women that shaped your path, and, who were they and what did they model for you that you still carry forward today?
I can tell you that I'm I don't know if you have ever done, but this test that they tell you what are your key strengths, it's called Strength Finder. Mine, the first one, I'm a learner. So I learn almost from everyone around me, either I like them or not. I learn what to be or not, or what not to be, so I learn from everyone. But if I truly think about who has shaped women who have shaped my career, first one I would say is the women in my family. So my mother and my grandmother, they were all both very different, but they showed me a lot. My mother came from a family where women, if you had the possibility, you were not allowed to study. So my mother was not allowed to study, and for her was very important that I was raised at equal opportunities that my brothers. So without, my mother was not making noise and not going, go women, go. No, it was very quiet, but doing the right thing for her kids. So my brothers, 4 brothers and myself, we were taking care of everything at home. I had not a particular task. In fact, if anything, I would have less tasks than my brothers, just to make sure, that we were raised with this equal of opportunities and responsibilities at home. My grandma was a woman who lost her husband early, and she had to manage, in a village, the whole house with all the people working. It was a farm. So she became, like this, the resilience we were talking about. Like imagine, like this is grandma in Spain, in a village, managing this. So this capacity, like to lead with resiliency, and always calm, always, like they gave me extraordinary learnings, life learnings. Then when I started working in HP, the first manager I had in HP was a woman called Gretchen. And it was the first time I was working. So imagine how lucky, and the probabilities in a tech company in Spain were very low. She was my first manager. She was from the US, so I learned so much, about and she was not at the beginning of her career. She was like a pretty senior lady. So it was extraordinary coach, and learning. And now, one lady that I really love and how she's taking her voice and her experience is Christiane Lagarde, which she is like the example of where like a complex businesses can be managed extremely well by a woman, but also using any opportunity she has to bring equity on the table. So that's what I would say, like the three, or four women, that I want to mention.
Well, having that experience, it makes sense on why you made it a point of creating opportunities for others in your career because you learn from them. And so I know that you've helped create internal women's networks and also spoken at universities to really inspire future leaders. So, on that note, what other examples of paying it forward, what does that look like in practice for you?
So I think and I love this year theme is give to gain. It's just the more I think about it, I think, oh my goodness, it's so powerful. Because let me tell you, I give but I gain, and others do the same thing all the time, and that's why we are where we are. And I have done many things, Sheena, over my career. From in Barcelona, when I started many, many years ago, more than 30, there was no such a women network in HP in Barcelona. So I just we were few of us engineers, starting here. So I decided to do a breakfast. What if we join us for breakfast without knowing what should we be doing? So we started this women network in Barcelona, which started from a breakfast. And what would you like to talk about? What should we invite anyone? What would be the things from there? Now is one of the most successful women networks, even in HP, because there are things that are very well decided every year. There are subgroups, people for the different needs, for the different stages in life, for the different desires, people have, so that you can join a group, and really increase your connections, which are very important, belonging, and continue growing. But then also when I moved to Singapore, the women network was already set. But I thought it was like a women network very good for the belonging, but not for helping women to grow in their career. So I helped them, I joined them as a one more, but then I helped them to think, okay, why don't we think about this, not only for the belonging, but also that we can get out of this network, help us to grow in our career. And we changed the theme, for the years where I was in Singapore, just to focus on things we will learn to be better at work, And today, as I told you, I'm part of this executive women, which we just formed 18 months ago. We are still discovering what we want. Networking is very important for us. We give support to each other when anyone needs some help at work, we're there. So and now we're trying to make, invite other people, in order to participate to the events, that we do coaching. So that's one thing. And the last thing is I do as much mentorship one-on-one that I can with women. Of course, my calendar doesn't allow me to do as many as I want, but I just, anyone that needs help and knows me, even if it's just like you, Sheena, one day you send me a note, I'll find 30 minutes, to talk about what can I do.
And, I know for women currently navigating careers in sectors like engineering and technology, which historically have been male dominated, that path can sometimes feel complex. So I love that you create these spaces for them. And on that note, what advice would you give women navigating leadership ambition while staying authentic to themselves? You covered it a little bit earlier, but if they were to ask you for advice on how to do both, what would you say?
I would say, no, like there are like the first what I said, no, like keep adapting to what the businesses need, the technology, no, like whenever you are in your career, you need to know, no, like you need to adapt, to what is happening into the business. If you change businesses, region, like position, so like you need to learn without ever losing your values. Okay, I think that I think is very important. Second is, while career progress is very important, make sure you enjoy, like, and be as happy. Find, and I know some jobs you can say not every woman can select a job to be happy, but try to find as much joy, like especially if you can choose, that makes you happy. That's like select the roles that make you happy. And then I think like one thing that I always advise to everyone, not only women that like ask me, is you need to have a dream. No, if I ask you, Sheena, or like if you ask Guayente, what is your dream? And like your dream can be, I want to be the CEO of a company, or I want to be the happiest person rotating across many roles and industries, always being the person that helps the most around me. Whatever the dream is at work, draw it. And then think, in order to get there, what is the network that you need to get there? Who do you need to know? What are the soft skills that are going to be required there? And what is the hard skills? Do I need to know about technology, AI? Do I need to know about software, hardware, nursing, whatever it is? What is like in that dream? And then think, what today, in your role, today, what can you build for that future? So you are, again, linking to your own purpose. And today you do, maybe in your job you can do a lot towards the future, or maybe, okay, I'm going to be doing this special training because I think I'm going to be needed in the future. So that's like some advice that I give to everyone.
And speaking of that, I do want to jump a little bit into the industry since you mentioned AI. Technology itself is evolving incredibly quickly right now, particularly with the rise of AI, like you mentioned. And so you've led businesses that span, 3D printing, large format design, commercial systems, and now AI powered commercial solutions. How do you see AI reshaping collaboration and opportunity globally?
So I can tell you, Sheena, and that either we like it or not, like this technology is one technology that is going to change the way we live and work, any of us. It is, like, and accepting it and then adapting to it and learning about it and how to use it is going to be fundamental. Just, and as you say, the speed of change is huge. Of course, humans, like it takes us a while for the change management. So it's not like there is something new and immediately all of us will jump into it, but it's going to happen sooner or later. Even myself, like, of course, I have many AI tools that are around me and I'm using, like a Copilot to write my messages. You see, I'm not super fluent in English. When I write an email in the past, it would take me writing it and then like all the spellings. Now I write a message that is half Spanish, half English. I have some prompts that I have created depending on the message. I put the prompt, the text, I correct it. I don't know, like I may have saved, I don't know how many hours per day just for this. Yesterday, you were talking about collaboration. I'm just trying one new software that is called Sanas, that is for accent correction. It's still not working properly. That's why I'm not using it today. But it just keeps your accent, your voice, your tone. But for these words that for me are difficult, like to pronounce, like the D's at the end of the words, etc., it would correct it. PB is just is a local, like it will happen on the device, local, a small language model that will correct just the accent so that when it leaves my PC, it lives with making sure that I'm understood better, so that I think that is, and like this I can tell you how I create when I'm preparing, like for interviews, when I'm preparing for material, all the information that exists. I have created personally some agent or some gem, like with Gemini, for how I search recipes. Like I always search in a way. I like cooking, but and then I have this little gem that is helping me. I have created agents that is helping me to know, that I have these hundreds of products, that I launch every year, and I couldn't know for each of them how do they compare to the competition and why they are better. So now I have an agent, that is like I just have all my true information I can ask. I have it on my device. So like it's just a private and secure, like the agent that will answer the questions that I want. And like this, I can go and on and on and on, because it's changing all the processes, all the people, and how we work.
I completely agree.
And I think, Sheena, like one of the things, the intent of everything on AI is that you can interact, like in the way, like you interact normally. Not only, like with a word, like think about coding. You need to tell to a developer what you want. I want an application that will show that, and then they would put all the coding in the different coding language, so that at the end you have the app. Now you can do it yourself. Like I want to create an app that will, like the other day I was playing with it, an app that will enhance the picture in a way that I like, anyway. So that, and I was trying, like I had a user interface, and I'm not a developer. So one of the things is that like, we need to accept, but also just play with it. Of course, be careful on the information that like you put there, but like play. It's just the timing, like to play and have fun with this tool.
Absolutely. And digging in a little bit deeper to the tool, as powerful as these technologies are, there is also an ongoing conversation about ensuring that they remain inclusive, right? So, as technology moves us into what many are calling the intelligence age, how do you ensure that innovation remains inclusive and accessible rather than widening gaps?
So I think this is a very important thing that everyone, not only like not like you and me, but everyone in the world, in the technology, and especially in leadership, we need to make sure that like we are very conscious on how we are developing and using AI. And not like if I look, not like HP, as you can think, no, HP is one of the companies that is very ethical, not like on all of this. So we have our own rules to make sure, not like that we develop and everything with 5 principles. Not like one is thinking like is what we are developing and using respecting the trust and respect for the people. Not like are we taking care on the security and safety? Are we doing something not like that we shouldn't? Is this like the fairness and accountability? Like is this fair for all? How are we training? From where is the data coming? Is it balanced? Like all of these principles as well, like protecting the IP. So like innovating, but while protecting the IP, we need to watch, like that we are not using IP that others have done. And of course, like ensuring that we do as much education and engagement with what we have developed with our audience, our customers. Look, this is how we did it. This transparency also is going to be very important. And I think that is a moment too where like the value of the company is reflected through the products and the actions that we're taking in every area, but in this one even more concretely.
That makes sense. And that leads to an important question about responsibility. And you covered it a little bit already, but what responsibilities do global technology leaders have in shaping a more equitable digital future, to add on to that?
I think we have it all, no? Like,
Yeah.
but as I always say, no, like we have it all, but also the users have it all. So like we can say whatever, but like every one of us we are users, we are humans, we can say something. So I think the responsibility for, I feel it every day myself personally, I think we have to not like build into these principles that I mentioned, Sheena, but I think like every one of us, like what you put, what you question, what you challenge, like it's your decisions every day. So like if you are in using some tool that are like you think is not like either trustful, don't use it. Like if you don't think it's respectful, don't use it. Or like also, like, like there are chats everywhere, like just document, express, like what you're seeing that like has to be changed. Raise your voice for this.
Completely agree. And before we close, I'd love to come back to the broader impact of leadership. So, as a woman who has ascended to a senior global leadership in a traditionally male dominated sector, how do you think about the responsibility of lifting others as you rise? And also, what do you hope for women leaders across geographies will continue to do for one another as the years go?
I just have one very short thing. Believe the theme of this year: give to gain. So give something, doesn't need to be big or small, just give because you and everybody will gain. And that is like the big thing. And I can tell you, like, just for example, this week I have decided to send an instant message, like through Teams to, if I was hearing something like good about you, Sheena, today at work, usually like you forget and like you move on. So I send an instant message at least to one woman per day during this month to say, I heard that like your presentation was great, or I heard your business is growing at double digits. Congratulations. Just like like just it's a little bit to give. I gain, I feel much better, like as a human, and I'm sure the person receiving it too. So just give to gain.
Love that. Well, Guayente, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your perspective with us today. I think your story really reminds us that leadership is not only about innovation and business growth, but it's about building pathways for others and, creating cultures where people can thrive and ensuring that technologies are shaping our future remain inclusive. So thank you for being here today. We so appreciate you.
Thank you, Sheena, and all the team. Like as I said, you are doing an extraordinary work for to give, to gain.
And to our listeners, if something in today's conversation resonated, we invite you to take the next step. World Pulse exists to be a digital bridge, connecting women across the world so that no one has to lead, learn, or build change alone. To learn more or to get involved, visit impact.worldpulse.org or simply click the link in the show notes for this episode. Because whether you're here to listen, to contribute, or to simply belong, there's a place for you on this bridge. Thank you for joining us on the World Pulse podcast today. This conversation does not end here, it continues through connection. We'll see you next time.